All right, so I wanted to provide some general guidance in how best to utilize my newest meditation recordings, my scientific meditation series, which basically takes a different path than a lot of my other recordings, which are all guided recordings, giving pretty clear instructions throughout, although occasionally giving time for insights to develop inside of them. These instead are guiding you into the practice of a focused meditation and then providing a framework within which to work. So to begin with, before using any of the programs, I highly suggest that you stretch out your body a little bit, getting your body awake and moving your limbs, loosening yourself up, because there's a lot of breathing and other aspects of these recordings that you get more benefit from if your body's more awake and alive. And if you are in a lethargic state when doing any kind of meditation, there's a much greater chance of you falling asleep during the program. So being alert and awake is great. And so, loosening up to the stretching. In the future, I'll make a video that shows sort of my recommended stretching routine that I generally do before meditation. But just stretching yourself out, moving your body a little bit, bending, maybe stretching your legs a little bit, especially if you're going to be sitting on the floor. Those sorts of things are very useful. Because of that, and in general, because you're going to be breathing during these, I recommend that you wear loose clothing when you're using any of these recordings so that you can breathe and feel comfortable while you're in a seated posture. I also highly recommend that you do sit on the floor during these meditations if possible, simply because the uniqueness of that posture tends to make you more alert and more present in what it is that you're doing. Whereas if you're sitting on a seat, even if you're sitting at the edge of a seat, which ends up being more uncomfortable than sitting on the floor for me at least, you're because that's such a conditioned space for you, you tend to more easily just drift and your posture gets out of balance. Whereas if you're seated on a meditation pillow or some other meditation structure, I'm working on developing a really good meditation seat right now, but anything that raises your hips above your knees is going to be valuable. So at any rate, make sure that your back is supported without having to lean back while you're doing the meditation. That's highly important. All of the meditations begin with a series of preliminary exercises that move you into the state of consciousness that I want you to be in for doing these meditations, which is just simply relaxed and focused and present in your body, embodied. And then they end with a series of sort of guided emotional elevation in order to end the practice in a positive space and basically move yourself into a positive frame of mind for the rest of your day. So basically there are 8 components in all of the meditations. The first one is establishing posture, which, as I just mentioned, you want to be sitting in the right way to maintain a comfortable but alert posture that allows you to focus on what you're doing. And then a recollection of your intention. And that varies with some of the programs, but for the most part, it's just simply realizing that you're doing this for the purpose of moving into a better state of consciousness so that you can be of more service to the people around you in your life. And also removing any intentions or any thoughts that are not relevant to what it is that we're doing. Then we do a pretty simple breathing exercise right at the beginning of each one, just a few minutes of deep breathing while I go over some of the sort of technology of meditation that you're going to want to be using. These deep breathing exercises, again, begin to change your nervous system so that you're moving more into a relaxed state. And there's a significant amount of research that shows that just deep breathing alone transforms consciousness in a very powerful way. So just doing that little portion of it is actually quite transformative. And then after that, we do a progressive relaxation, which is a very common thing that you see in a lot of guided meditations. However, you don't see it that often in this sort of seated meditation, but it's highly valuable because it puts you into a place where you have engaged with every part of your body and let go of any tension that you're experiencing. And we just do it in a relatively fast way. Then we move into the meditation practice itself. And each of these practices are intended to bring together the three main parts of your conscious awareness, which is your seeing, your hearing, and your feeling. With each of those, you're wanting to bring them all to bear on one thing, and each of the different kinds of practices focuses in a different place. Some of the practices are more visual, some of them are more feeling oriented, and some of them are more sound oriented. But each of the practices wants you to engage all three of those things simultaneously in order to fully engage your attention. And we do that either for 15 minutes, for 30 minutes, or for 60 minutes. So the recordings themselves, the 15-minute recording is actually about a little over 20 minutes long. The 30-minute recording is actually 45 minutes long, and the 60-minute recording is about an hour and 15 minutes long, because it also has those other practices at the beginning and the end. So you actually have the practice period that is the amount of time that's stated in the thing. So if you order one of my recordings, you notice that the 15 one says 25 minutes or something. It's because of those other practices around it. So after we do the meditation practice itself that engages the three parts of consciousness, we then do a practice that elevates the emotions in a positive way and sort of spreads love out into the world. This is often called a metta, or in my new Hermetic system, it's called radiating Rosicrucian love. And it's basically just feeling good in yourself and then sharing that good feeling out into the community. And in the longer recordings, it's a longer process. In the shorter recordings, it's a shorter process. So after that, we do a very brief sort of future pacing moment in which we engage with future possibility of people that we're encountering in the future, and just sharing that positive energy with them. And then you can take a few moments and sort of plan out your day if you want to, at the very end of practice in a positive frame of mind from having created this excellent, positive, emotional, elevated state. And then you take all the pleasant feelings and you sort of give them freely to all the people that you care about in your life on an emotional level, and go out and live your life in a happy way. So all of the meditations have that framework in them, with a different focused meditation in the midst of those. So when you engage the three major aspects of your consciousness together, it helps you to avoid distraction in a powerful way. And so even just even if you hadn't listened to this recording, if you listen to any of my my audio tracks, you'll notice that I ask you to utilize all the different parts of your consciousness at once. And basically, it's an impossible task because we can't do it. But if you engage all three of them one after the other, eventually you sort of get to this gestalt, which I call the thruple of attention, which is that all the three different parts have come together and they're having a single party of consciousness in the center there, and that is the meditative state par excellence. And when you're doing the practice, it's very important that you engage it in a very light and easy way. You don't want to even if you're doing a focused meditation where you're staring at a candle flame or something like that, you still want to do it in such a way that you're engaging it with your diligence, but not with intensity. You want to remain in a very relaxed and pleasant state of consciousness. At the same time, you don't want to fall asleep. So it's important that you kind of have that balance between those two factors that are going on. And the other thing is, when you're doing any kind of meditation like this, especially when you're just starting out, you're going to be spending at least 3/4 of the time distracted in one way or another. And what you want to do in this distraction, when you notice a distraction, rather than going, "Ah, darn, I messed up, I wasn't thinking about the meditation object," instead what you want to do is you want to congratulate your consciousness for having alerted you to the fact that you've been distracted, and then gently release what it is that has distracted you, and calmly and happily return to what you were meaning to be focusing upon. Now, the reason for this is that if you do it in an agitated state, "Oh, I messed up again, I was thinking about the wrong thing," what ends up happening is that your consciousness just stops telling you that you're distracted. It still lets you get distracted, but it just doesn't tell you that you've gotten distracted. So you actually become worse and worse at the task the harder you are on yourself. The easier you are on yourself, the more that you just simply go, oh, it's great that I noticed that I was distracted, and return to the meditation object, the more you're going to find yourself staying with it and staying on topic. Now, the other thing that you should keep in mind is that your intention, at least at first, is not to completely remove all other aspects of consciousness other than the object of your meditation, but simply to center your consciousness around that object of meditation. There are going to be things that come up in consciousness, for a long time, and just allow those to be. Just don't allow yourself to get pulled away. And when you do, as I said, congratulate yourself for noticing that you've done so, and just simply return to where you're wanting your attention to be. Doing that is going to allow you to very quickly evolve into a very strong meditator. Between those, using all three aspects of your consciousness, and congratulating yourself when you notice that you've been distracted, you're really going to find that you're zeroing in on your purpose in a very strong way, very quickly, and moving into very powerful states of bliss and concentration. And so go ahead and check out any one of my programs. I'm going to talk about each individual one in different videos. So I'll talk to you soon.